Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now, there's been much discussion. There really has been much discussion in this province over the last little while over banning smartphones completely from schools. When I say completely, you show up, no smartphone, lunch, breaks, recess, classroom, no phones all day long. In fact, the provincial government has a parliamentary commission. All the parties are involved. They've been actually visiting with students. 18 schools, by the way, private, public, English, and French, that they've been visiting with students trying to get opinions. Now, yesterday on the program, we had a listener text in yesterday morning during the discussion about cell phone bans and let us know that their school had banned cell phones already and had seen great results. Let's go to that texter, who's also the principal at Westwood Junior High School. Anna Holler joins us on the line. Anna, thanks for letting us know via the text line, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So why don't we get to why, because obviously there's been some recommendations and directives from the Ministry of Education, but it seems like you're going just a little bit ahead of what's required here. Tell me about the process, when you started to think about it, what led you to the decision?
Well, it really was born out of discussions with the staff and our observations coming out of sort of the COVID times, kids being used to connections to social media. And we noticed, as many people, that students were much more stressed and anxious. We did not at that time have a cell phone ban. Students were allowed to have their cell phones at school. They could use them at recess and at lunch, but it meant that there was a temptation during class time to take it out to respond to a notification. And we were noticing that the students tended to be distracted by these notifications and felt an impulse to check their phone, which caused a certain amount of interference in the learning. So after much discussion, we decided to go ahead with banning them from bell to bell. So the students arrive to school in the morning with their cell phones. They can use them on the bus before the bell just to touch base with parents if they need to. And then once the bell goes, it must remain in their locker until the end of the day at the last bell, at which point they could use it again. And so far this year, it has made a tremendous impact on our learning environment. And by the way, we did have the support of our governing board. Parents were very much behind this initiative.
Can I ask you just a little bit more on that, on the support here? Because
Sure.
whenever we've brought up this topic on CJD on this program, and I open up our phone lines, I ask people what they think. You know what the number one type of caller I get? Parents who say, this is a terrible idea. I need to contact my child. I need to be able to reach them. And what if there's, terrible situations, right? We can think of the worst case scenarios at school that we see in the States, very rare in Canada, but we've seen it.
Right.
And they bring that up. Oh, this is bad for safety. Did you get any of that?
We did have a few questions about that, not in great number. There were a few questions about, well, how would this work? So students can contact parents during the day should they need to, and vice versa, via the main office. So we don't forbid students contacting their parents. They're allowed to come. Often kids forget things, or there's a message that parents need to relay to their child. We have a phone at the office. They're more than welcome to contact parents, as I mentioned, vice versa. But we haven't necessarily seen an increase. And both parents and students have really made the transition quite seamlessly to the new sort of procedure. They've adapted well. There was an initial, of course, resistance from the students who have been so used to being so connected to their devices, but it seemed to fade quite quickly. And the benefits that we have seen have certainly outweighed the concerns. We are mindful that we need to make sure we have a very strong communication plan, emergency plan in place in the event of emergency. So far it's been great.
We're with Anna Haller, who's vice principal at Westwood Junior High School in Saint-Lazare, talking about smartphone bans in schools. Her school has done so ahead of a possibility that the Ministry of Education tells all schools to follow suit. So, Anna, let's talk about the benefits. You said there's been benefits. What are the benefits you are seeing?
Well, we have seen a reduction in stress, as I mentioned before, and anxiety. We've also noticed that there are fewer conflicts via social media platforms, either conflicts or online bullying. We've also noticed there are fewer in-person arguments caused by online drama that takes place at school. We've noticed improved relationships among the students. They appear happier. There is an increased amount of interactions during lunchtime and recess. We've provided the students with more opportunities to become engaged in clubs and activities for, as we mentioned, face-to-face interactions and conversations. The stress and anxiety has really been reduced a great deal. We noticed, as I mentioned, they just seem to be way more happy as a group. Of course, it's very busy. We have grade 7 and 8 students here at our school. So there is a lot of action, but I think it's all been positive. Teachers have really stepped up, opened their classrooms, and provided spaces for students who sort of may have been the type to be connected to their phone. They may not be socially, they may not have as many friends. So we do find that we have provided spaces for students who just want to be quiet or want to be less engaged in social interactions for whatever reason. As I mentioned before, they would have been sort of connected to their phone, but now they're at the library or they're connecting with teachers. So there have been lots of benefits that way as well. And
sorry there, just because, I'd also heard, sometimes you need it for the educational process. You need to have the smartphones. What if they're doing an assignment and it's better if they have their smartphones? What about that aspect? Has that been overblown?
Well, we've decided at our school they still have access to Chromebooks and laptops to do research, complete assignments online, and there are exceptions. So, for example, we had Mr. Prahash, our science teacher, had a project, and part of the project required them to use their cell phones. So we do make exceptions for them to use it, but it is used in an educational manner.
And sparingly.
Responsibly, sparingly. So it is permitted. Devices are permitted for classwork, presentations or research, but as we mentioned, sparingly and responsibly.
So just to wrap up here, if you were to have a discussion with Bernard Drinville, Education Minister, and you would say, what should we do? Should we bring this to the whole process? Yes or no? What would you say to him?
Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt.
Anna, great talking to you. Thank you for your perspective and reaching out.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Anna Haller is principal at Westwood Junior High School.